Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? It's Wednesday, hump day. Happy hump day. Um, even though it's mm, oh, coffee's so good this morning. um, Happy Wednesday, everybody. Just waiting for a couple more people to join. Um, June 5th, as I record this at 8 a.m. Good morning, good morning. Nice to see you as always. Um, Happy hump day, happy Wednesday to everyone. Today I'm talking about imagination, manifestation. I may go into law of attraction a little bit. I'm going to talk about the astral plane. I'm going to get real weird with it today. I'll tell you, I'm in a, hello. Welcome. You made it. You made it live. I'm sorry, the time difference. I don't know why. In software, you'd figure it'd be easy for them to like display the correct time depending on where you are and that sort of thing. So, so happy to see you. So happy you joined. So we now have viewers all over the world tuning in. That's always an exciting thing to me. That's one of the things I love about technology. I have clients and students all over the world. Clients in all over Europe and Asia and the Middle East, and students. I've had students in Australia and students all over the U.S. and Canada and Thailand, and so it's really great. It's really great. It's great to be able to talk to people all over. So it's Wednesday, it's hump day. I'm talking about imagination and manifestation. Today's a weird day for me. I've been talking about this a little bit, but my daughters, I have twin daughters, they're graduating from high school today, which brings up a lot of emotion for me. For one, oh, okay, cool. Oh, you got advised. Oh, good. Okay, cool. There you go. Yesterday, I manifested a bacon pizza. I'll talk about that a little bit. Um, I'll give you some really specific ways that I've used. Oh my gosh, my cat! Oh, my cat has heard me. Oh, she missed jumping up in my lap. So my cat's going to make an appearance at some point. I apologize. I'm not doing anything untoward under my desk here. She's just decided you're talking, therefore it's time to get involved in this broadcast. So uh, anyway, I'm going to talk about my daughters are graduating from high school today. A lot of emotions coming up. Proud of them. I love them. Excited for them. I know they're leaving home soon. And I'm very nostalgic. Think about the first day they went to school. They were wearing little Minnie Mouse backpacks. Still have the photo of them on their first day of school, and big smiles on their face. And they're so excited. They're decorating their caps and all of that sort of thing. And they did really well in school. They got cords uh, representing one of my daughter. I think both of them have A averages grade wise. I never worried about their grades because they always got really good grades. At least one of my daughters has a 4.0. It's graduating with a 4.0. So good grades, activities. One of them played a varsity sport for a couple of years. So they've got all these cores, all this stuff going on. So excited. My mom is up here from South Carolina to go to the graduation. So get to see a lot of family, all kinds of stuff. So there's all kinds of feelings, all kinds of stuff going on. So it's a weird day. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, my coffee is really good today. I don't remember the brand at the moment, but I grind my own beans, and I bought a new brand of some kind of organic Italian coffee, and it's delicious. So thank you. My coffee is very good, and I'm hoping my cat makes it up in my lap instead of just trying. Oh, here we go. All right. Hi, Phoebes. Hi. You want to say hi to the folks? Here's Phoebe. Say hi, Phoebe. Um, I'll try to keep her from thwapping me in the face with her tail, which she likes to do when I'm talking. But oh, your daughter's 3. Yeah, daughters make the world go around for sure. You've got a lot of great things and great memories ahead of you. I moved back to Maine when my daughters were 3, so we've been here for 14 years. They're 17 now, so um, 14 and a half years been back here. I grew up in Maine, and then I lived in Boston for 20 years, and then moved back here when my daughters turned 3 because I like trees and a yard and things like that. And the city life was not for me at that time. So let's get into imagination, manifestation. Now that my cat's on my lap, now that I've started talking, my dog is going to whine until I let her out. So I may have to get up and let my dog out. And I apologize. This is becoming a thing with her, where like this is a stimulus for her to want to go out. So I gotta evict Phoebe here. I'm gonna get up for a second. My apologies that I've got to do this again, but and I'll have to do it again when she wants to come in. I'm still with you. I promise. I promise. Don't look at the empty wall as me leaving. I just have to let my dog out. There you go. Play. Okay. Animal situation taken care of for now. Apologize for walking away. I really, it's maybe a little bit unprofessional. If you're joining me on TikTok, I was just recruited, I guess. I don't know what it means yet. I was just recruited to be in an agency called Talenture, which is a partner with TikTok. So they're supposed to be helping me promote my lives. They're really big into lives for whatever reason. TikTok's really big into lives. Um, I get, I might get 15 or 20 people watching me live on YouTube, between YouTube and Facebook. I'll have 400 people watching me live on TikTok, at some point. So TikTok's really pushing live. And I realize that's not all at the same time. People are like scrolling through and they come up on my live, and some people watch and some people don't. But I'm waving. I think I'm waving at people. It says like you waved at so and so. I don't know if that's just people I'm friends with or whatever when that comes up. So let's get into imagination and manifestation and uh, how that fits into spirituality and our world and all of these things. And so I'm going to present a viewpoint. It is clearly my viewpoint. You may have a different viewpoint, and that's okay. I respect that. This isn't dogma, this isn't religion. When I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about reality. It's always my view because I don't have another view at this point. Like maybe someday I will do some channeling on this channel. I'll do some channeling on my channel. Um, but I haven't done any publicly channeling. I do channel as part of my work. Not in the way that you may be used to it. I do it shamanically. Um, but one of the things I practice is Norse shamanism, which is more akin to channeling. You're instead of uh, it's shamanistic. Instead of going out to meet the spirits, you bring the spirits in, and you either talk on their behalf or you allow them to talk through you. Um, So, imagination. Imagination is unbelievably powerful. It's an unbelievably powerful creative tool. In fact, I would say that the capacity, your capacity for imagination, your imaginal capacity, we'll call it, is what is creating your reality right now. Right now, everything you're seeing, hearing, experiencing is arising in your consciousness in using the same mechanisms in which you might imagine something. You just think about it. Okay. So, um, right now you are, if you're looking at your screen, there's light coming through, being projected, that's hitting your retinas, creating an electrical signal in your brain. But in your consciousness, you have the experience of seeing a person talking to you, right? You're that's not what's out here. Out here is quantum soup. We're not experiencing reality as it is. We can't, right? We're experiencing a very limited range of inputs about our reality. We can expand those somewhat. Not it's hard to expand your senses, but you can train your senses to expand and see more. And I can tell you that having trained as an artist, having trained as a photographer, um, it changes how you see the world. It changes your experience of how you look at the world and how you see, how you perceive. Perception is not about these sense organs, it's about what's going on in your consciousness. And so when you imagine something, it's the same capacity. It's just not coming through your sensory organs. And so there's this idea, there's this prejudice sometimes against imagination, that what we imagine isn't real, because it's not, I can't necessarily imagine, maybe if I try hard enough, I can't necessarily imagine like a stack of $100 bills on my desk and have that appear yet. I'm working on it. Practicing my Jedi mind tricks, gonna levitate, gonna do all this thing. There's a new I'm a big Star Wars nerd. There's a new Star Wars show that just dropped last night. At least if you're in the States, I don't know about other countries, but called The Acolyte. And I'm fascinated by Jedi training because, for one, it borrows a lot from Eastern philosophy. Lucas like borrowed ideas from the East, and I have a background in martial arts, and so the lightsaber training was always really cool to me. Um, it was based in part originally it was based on kendo, and they've mixed a lot of other stuff into it these days. Um, and then like every Jedi has their own style these days, some people have two lightsabers or some less staff or some other things. So there's a lot of martial arts going on there. In fact, in Ashoka, Diana Lee Inosanto plays one of the main bad guys. She's fantastic, not just as an actress and a martial artist, but on a personal level, she is just a wonderful, beautiful person. And her father is Danny Inosanto, who is still around. An amazing martial artist who trained with and trained Bruce Lee. He taught Filipino martial arts to Bruce Lee. So it was a long time ago. So anyway, nerding out about that. So that's, we think that imagination isn't necessarily real. There's a prejudice about imagination, and that, oh, you're just imagining that. You're just imagining that is a phrase that we use in English, right? That's in your imagination, meaning you made it up, you invented it, whatever. But to some extent, we are doing that about the real world as well. Like this coffee cup, I experience as a solid object, but this is just a field of atoms which are going between, until they're observed, are waves, and then they become particles when they're observed. And there's a whole, quantum physics to this. So one thing we know is that consciousness affects physical reality. This has been proven out scientifically beyond a reasonable doubt. Observation consciousness affects physical reality. Um, so human beings have the ability to affect physical reality with our consciousness. We don't always do so um, fully consciously, right? Meaning we don't always do so intentionally, right? Again, I haven't gotten to the point where I can just imagine a stack of $100 bills on my desk and that appears. Someday you'll know, because I'll have a much nicer office, better clothes, fancier glasses. I don't know. I love these glasses. I probably won't change them. Um, I need a new prescription though. Oh, good morning. Yeah, I do these pretty early. Yeah, I apologize to people that are in different time zones and stuff. This is the time that I have available to do these. This is when I have my coffee in the morning before I really start in on the work of like seeing clients and students and doing the other things that I have to do during the day. So this is the time that I have available. Sometimes I'll mix it up a little bit too, and I'm thinking about doing other lives, other types of lives, but besides the coffee hour. The I was just talking about I signed up with it's funny. I'm like I got signed by a talent agency, and yet I have no talent. Which is not true, but it's a joke. Like I'm required to do a certain amount of lives on TikTok. If I'm gonna do a live on TikTok, I might as well do a live, here as well. It's not really extra effort. Um, so that I have to do a certain number, and it's more than I do now. So I'll probably look to mix it up and not just do these coffee hours, but do some stuff at other times during the day, and maybe that'll be better for other people. But I'm so glad to everybody who have been able to make this live. um thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm talking about imagination and manifestation and how our consciousness affects reality. So human consciousness affects reality. When we observe things, we kind of lock them into being on a quantum level. But again, everything out here that seems to us as solid objects with colors and all of those things, that's just how they are arising in the experience of our consciousness. That's not what they actually are. We know like this coffee cup is a bunch of quantum probability. It's like a cloud of things. It looks solid. It looks like it has a definite shape. But even as I'm sitting here, there are atoms in my body that are becoming part of the coffee cup, and there are atoms that are in the coffee cup that are becoming part of my body. As I drink the coffee, that's even more intensified. And the same thing is true with my laptop and my phone and my desk. We're exchanging atoms as I sit here because it's just this giant cloud of probability, and I am more probably shaped like this than like a this giant cloud of things, but hopefully not shaped like a human being and not like a giant cloud. But uh, so anyway, our consciousness affects reality. Another interesting um, uh, if you get a chance, if you're into nerdy stuff, as I am, if you're into really nerdy stuff, well, one of the things I recommend is checking out the random number generator experiments done by the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab. So these guys, these researchers who are statisticians, they put uh, they're physical random number generators, right? So your computer can generate random numbers, but it uses an algorithm to do that, and so it's not truly random. These devices use physical processes that are nothing is truly random in this universe, as we know, but they're as close to random as one could get, right? And so they're digital, they're binary. So they just generate a an ongoing stream of ones and zeros in random and are completely random by chance. And if you take any block of time, let's say I run a billion random numbers in an hour, and I look at that, more or less statistically, you will get 50% ones and 50% zeros. Like these are truly random. They've tested them over and over, billions, probably trillions of trials. They've tested these things. They're truly random in any measurable way, right? What happens is when there are events that um, in the world, global events that affect consciousness at a global level, things like 9/11, things like the death of Princess Diana, things like that a bunch of people are tuning into at the same time. Globally, these random number generators are all over the world. They're in universities all over the world. Globally, they become less random the numbers start to they'll generate statistically many more either ones or zeros, whatever it is, but they become less random. They become more ordered when global consciousness is fixated on something. So this is consciousness. This is not the only description of this, the only way to talk about this. We don't know the full underlying mechanism of this, but this is telekinesis. This is consciousness affecting physical processes, right? Global consciousness, consciousness of a large number of human beings. They've done this also with meditators, where they've put random number generators in like the Maharishi University, where the transcendental meditators are studying, and shown an effect on them there. So when people are gathered around and meditating, they become less random as well. So this is without people trying. This is without, like, I'm not focusing on a random number generator and trying to make it. It is just consciousness affecting physical processes. The implications for that are enormous. They cannot be You cannot overstate the implications for that. That consciousness is changing our physical reality, right? Um, the double slit experiment is a classic one. You can Google that as well if you're not familiar with it. They fire photons or electrons through a shield that has two slits in it, and when they look at the target on the other side, um, when they pass through the slits, it makes what's called a wave interference pattern. So the waves. So if you've ever seen, like, in a pond where two ripples come together in a pond, and it makes like an interference, makes like a lattice work, they will see that. You put particle detectors in front of those slits. So now you're observing when they're passing through, you observing them as particles. You no longer have the wave interference pattern. Now you see individual particles traveling through these slits. It changes the physical observation, basically, is how they're terming this. Observation changes the physical properties of matter. Very, very recently, using astronomical devices, they have been able to see observe scientists, astrophysicists have been able to observe light turning into matter. Now, we know from Einstein, we know that that is possible, but we didn't know that we could have like two photons, two waves of light, little packets of light that hit each other, and out from that comes an electron, comes a physical object. It's astounding. The implications of that are astounding. I apologize. One more second. I hope this is the last interruption. Got to let my dog back in. Hang on. I will be right back. I'm not abandoning you, I promise. All right. All right. All right. So, okay, here I am again. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm back. Um, so consciousness affects physical reality. This has been proven out scientifically, at least on a smaller scale, but also on a more macro level. And also, our reality is shaped by our consciousness. Everything that we experience is shaped by our consciousness. So there are a number of people who, I'll talk a little bit about the law of attraction. I don't love using that term a whole lot because it's become this real pop culture thing. Ever since The Secret came out so many years ago. Yes. Yeah. So Brienne is a friend of mine. Her daughter is my daughter's age. They are all graduating from high school together. I will have my little package of tissues in my top pocket when I go to the graduation. Um, yeah, I'm definitely not going to be able to. I'm a very emotional person. I'm not going to be able to not cry through this. Um, I never really, uh, I've never really experienced anything like this before where, my daughter, yeah, there've been sort of rites of passage with my daughters and that sort of thing, but, here's Phoebe again. Hello. Hello. Phoebe's the shaman cat. She's like, "I'm getting in on this live action. I'm gonna get some pats while I'm at it." So I promise I'm not doing anything funky down here with my hands. I'm just patting my cat and trying to keep her from jumping on my laptop and ending the live prematurely. Um, so our imagination is really powerful. And I'll give you some examples of that. I'll give you some examples of how our imagination, there goes her tail. She's gonna flap me in the face with her tail. Um, uh, of how our imagination affects reality and affects our reality anyway, and then we can expand on that. So um, you probably can't see it, but where is it? Down here. Oh, down here. So one of the things that I've studied in my life is hypnotherapy. I'm actually a certified hypnotherapist. I don't do it a whole lot. I don't see people in my office, and I've decided I don't really want to do hypnotherapy remotely. People do, and it's totally fine. But my process involves being in person with somebody for that. So I don't do that type of work a whole lot. But anyway, there's some stories from hypnotherapy, and we all know about all kinds of effects on human beings, like the placebo effect, right? You give a placebo to somebody, and it cures like 35% of ailments. We can't say it cures. We say ailments get relieved by placebos, right? And it's an effect we don't like. Even if you tell people it's a placebo, it's still effective, so go figure how that works. But there have been some really interesting, hypnotic phenomena that I have read research on and stuff. So, for example, um, they told somebody that they had something hot, like a lit match, and it was just like a little stick or something under hypnosis, and touched their arm with it, and a blister formed. Right, a blister, which is normally a very physical process in reaction to a burn, they could get a blister to form on somebody's arm by touching them with something that wasn't hot, but by telling them that it was burning them. And hypnosis has been used effectively in surgery. Hypnosis has been used effectively in um, all kinds of medical settings. There's, people who specialize in medical hypnosis. It has been used to do things like remove anxiety, cure phobias, remove smoking addiction. Very effective for smoking and weight loss. And those things are so challenging, right? Like more effective to my knowledge, more effective than some of the drugs that they prescribe. Although I'd have to look at the actual research numbers, so don't quote me on that. I might be off here, but if I were a smoker and I wanted to quit, I would probably use hypnotherapy for that, and maybe in conjunction with some medication or something. But definitely use that thing. But that is the capacity for our consciousness, particularly our imaginative consciousness, to create change in our lives. So, law of attraction became really popular with the movie The Secret. It existed for a long time before that. We used to call it magic. Um, it is magic. It falls in my definition of magic. So does making wishes, blowing out birthday candles, um, doing all of these things, right? Um, Prayer, I think, is a form of magic. I know people that would disagree with that. My apologies. I'm not saying that to offend anybody. I just think that magic is anything we do that is spiritually intended that is non-physical, that we're doing it with intention to cause change in consciousness, or change in our external circumstances, change in our reality and our physical reality is called thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy is a Greek word that means miracle work, right? The two basic branches of magic. One is thaumaturgy, which is miracle work, and the other is theurgy, which means God work. And so that is more akin to like prayer or mystical type work, meditation, um, you know, ritual, like ceremonial. I won't say ritual magic. I'll say ceremonial magic is more akin to theurgy. So there's, rituals, particularly out of the Golden Dawn system, which was Judeo-Christian in origin, that are meant to raise the vibration and the consciousness of the practitioner, um, with ultimate goals of getting closer to divinity. So that's mystical work, right? But we're talking about manifesting. We're talking about making changes in reality. And so anything that does that, throwing a coin in a wishing well and making a wish, or you know, placing crystals on your window in order to change the vibration of the room that you're in. That sort of thing. We're using, I mean, it's a physical object, but we're using non-physical means to manifest changes in our reality. So I call it magic. But so law of attraction was popularized by The Secret, but borrowed from a lot of previous teachers, and obviously, and they don't, they're not hiding that. It's not like they're not plagiarizing. They're just oh, thanks. This is actually selenite. Um, this is a selenite tower. I have little. We used to have little bits of selenite in front of all of my windows, until I got a cat, and she has knocked them off and taken off with them and hit them. And one of these days, I'm gonna like move my couch, and there's gonna be 1,000, stuffed mice and little balls and crystals and who knows what. Who knows what? It'll be an adventure, or other pieces of furniture. Who knows where she's putting stuff, or down in my basement sometimes she carries stuff around. Hair ties, my daughters lose go through hundreds of hair ties because she loves them and takes off of them. Oh, selenite moon, yeah, I love selenite. I have a very large, somebody gifted me a very large, like, it's heavy, it's like this big piece of selenite, that's in my living room. A very powerful tool if you know how to use it. Our imagination is really powerful. Why? Because it has no limits. I can imagine anything. I can imagine purple apple. I can imagine elephant flying. I can imagine whatever. Right? Very, very powerful. It is unlimited as far as we know. Right? Maybe there's stuff. We have phrases like "that's hard to imagine," or that sort of thing. Those are our limitations that are based on our belief system, that certain things are hard to imagine. And imagination doesn't have to mean picturing something, although it can. Very often there are people I've done a lot of work with a lot of people who are considered aphantasic, meaning they don't make pictures in their head. I think a lot of people think a lot of people have come to me who think they're aphantasic, and turns out they're not. And I will give you I will give you a secret exercise today, a secret psychological exercise that you can do that will increase your visualization ability, even if you are aphantasic. It might actually help. And I got this from a photographer who was aphantasic. I will say was, because this is how he fixed it. Um, and great photographer, but couldn't pre-visualize what his shoot. Like he couldn't make pictures in his head. Technically, you are making pictures in your head all the time. You're seeing me, you're making a picture in your head. But it's the idea of that, like pulling up images into your consciousness. Your unconscious mind is actually absolutely picturing things. But there seems to be sometimes there's a disconnect between our visual cortex and our conscious part of our brain. And so we have neuroplasticity, meaning we can change, we can create new neural pathways. And so there are ways around that. And I will give you an exercise today, which I think is brilliant. And not necessarily, it's not going to make changes immediately, but over time, if you're interested in pumping up your ability to visualize, this is highly recommended. And why wouldn't you want to pump up your ability to visualize? Like, it's so powerful to be able to hold something, um, you know, and so people can imagine using other senses, or they can imagine using intention, right? You can imagine using emotion as well, and that's a key part, and I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about Neville Goddard a little bit. Neville Goddard lived around the beginning of the 20th century, and then wrote from a very Christian perspective, but wrote about like a lot of the material that is used in law of attraction teachings today. And really was about using imagination to create reality consciously, to choose what we want to create. And a huge part of that was attaching that to emotion. Emotion sort of fuels the thing that we want to create. Um, but there are other, there are other teachers out there, still existing teachers. Bob Proctor is a big one. Love Bob Proctor's stuff. Um, uh, I've learned some stuff from Bob Proctor's students. There's manifestation techniques in the Sedona method, and um, taught by Lester Levinson. Um, so there's all kinds of stuff. And one of the things we've learned is that emotion, you cannot take emotion out of the equation and expect any kind of result, really. Emotion is really the thing that pumps it up. So um, here's the Neville Goddard secret. And he had like a million techniques, but here's the secret. Here's the Neville Goddard secret to law of attraction, or manifesting what you want. Um, so you get into an altered state of consciousness. He called it sleep-like consciousness. So it's light meditation state, right? You have to, in our everyday consciousness, things are much more concrete. And so there's not really the flexibility there in the consciousness that we need to manifest. So he called it like a sleep-like state of consciousness, something like that, right? And so he recommended doing his exercises like right before you go to bed. So right before you go to sleep, you enter into a state that's called a hypnagogic state, which is sort of pre-sleep. If you've ever been in that state where you're kind of falling asleep and maybe even have some waking dreams that enter in and that sort of thing, you don't have to do that. You can use progressive relaxation. You can use meditation, whatever gets you into a more relaxed state than your sort of uptime everyday state of consciousness. Step number one. Step number two, imagine that you already have whatever it is that you are trying to manifest. If that were a new car, for example, you would imagine yourself actually driving in the car, and you would use every sense that you could. You would imagine what the new car smelled like, what it felt like, what it looked like. And again, if you're aphantasic, you might just have to have the feeling of sitting in this car. Okay. And then you have to get into the emotional state. Imagine how you would feel, and if and when. So imagine, you have to imagine you're in the state of already having. That's part of it, right? We have to compress the time between not having and having by imagining you actually having the thing. And put yourself in the emotional state of what it would be like when you're having it. What would you feel like? Would you feel happy? Would you feel elated? Would you feel a sense of freedom? What would that be like for you? And doing that repeatedly will make it more likely that things manifest in your life. Now, in my experience, I have experienced some things that I would call miraculous in my life. I have experienced things that I would say that I had a psychotic break if it weren't for other people witnessing, numerous other people in the same room with me experiencing the same thing. I've been through initiation rituals that, quite frankly, the things that happened in them were not possible in my model of reality. So I've experienced some miraculous things in my life, and I have experienced things, you know, materializing and that sort of, but that's not normally how manifestation works. Manifestation, things normally manifest through natural means. What we are, my model of how manifestation works is we are affecting probabilities. Okay. So, one of the reasons why I have not won the Powerball lottery yet is that the probability against winning the Powerball lottery, first of all, I don't buy tickets. So, the probability of me winning is zero. But the winning the Powerball, the probability, if I bought a ticket, is something like 350 million to 1. It's more likely to be hit by lightning multiple times. Or if you drive half a mile to the store to buy a Powerball ticket, it is more likely that you'll die in a car accident. So, so that's a tough probability to affect. But if I want to manifest something like a new car or a new job or money or whatever, a new love, a new relationship, a new whatever, those things are probable. There's a probability to them, and we can affect that. We can make things more probable using our consciousness, and they will come to us. If I wanted a new relationship, I'm not, I'm gonna imagine the relationship that I want and put myself in the emotion of that happening. But I'm not going to lock myself in my closet because that will ruin the chance. Like a woman is not going to materialize in my closet with me, right? It's going to happen when I'm out there meeting people. We have to assist. Is one of the mistakes of that I think people make with law of attraction is that I just sit on my couch and I wish really hard and things happen to me. Sometimes, sometimes that happens. Sometimes, but rarely. Okay. So I want a new job. If I'm not looking, it could come to me. It could happen. It has happened to me where, somebody, I needed a new job and somebody read an article that I wrote years and years ago and called me up and said, "Hey, how would you like a job?" So it does happen, but it's easier. The universe is going to help you manifest, but it's by shifting probabilities. It's going to place things in your path. You have to still take inspired action on this. Oh, yeah. Okay. Do I think it's less effective when it's not for harm? Do I think it's less effective when it's not for harm? This is a challenging question. I'm do my best to answer it. I promise. It's really, really hard. I guess we would have to consider what harm is, right? Like and harm is a value, and yeah, we could agree that I want to hurt this person out of a sense of revenge. That's harmful. And maybe you don't agree. Maybe you think revenge is totally fine. So that's kind of a value judgment on things, right? Whether this is harmful or, whatever. Um, People manifest harmful situations all the time. People enter into bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship. And you're like, why do you keep basically dating the same person? Because you're manifesting that over and over again. It's self harm. Um, so yeah, people do manifest things that we would consider harmful all the time. Whether I don't think it's more or less easy to be honest. Yeah, yeah, it can be like so if you're living in a negative state all the time and you're constantly imagining, I'll give you a story. I'll give you a great story from my own life. If you're constantly imagining what can go wrong and inviting it in, you are basically creating some that's okay. I got it. We got it. I know I figured out what you're talking about. No problem. Yeah, we can, there's a saying we don't always get what we want, but we almost always get what we expect. And there are people who seem to be like have the Midas touch, right? Everything they touch turns to gold. And there are other people who have like the worst luck around things. Um, I remember, years ago, I had a doctor's appointment. I lived in Boston and was married at the time. And my wife dropped me off at the doctor's appointment, and I was going to take the subway to work. And when I got out of my doctor's appointment, I realized I had left my wallet at home, and I just had my backpack with me, but no wallet. And it was, 75 cents to ride the T or whatever it was. And I had a subway pass, but it was in my wallet. And I was like, "Oh god." And so I'm standing outside the subway station trying to figure out what to do. And it starts raining, pouring rain on me. I don't have an umbrella. I don't even have a jacket. And I decide I'm gonna search in my bag for change to take the subway. I think it was 75 cents back then. Tells you a little bit how old I am. Um, and so when it's raining and I think and I'm angry, I'm like, just like angry at myself, angry at the world for raining on me, whatever. And the thought goes into my head, what more can happen to me today? And I will tell you, if you can help it, don't ever think that if things are going bad for you. And I reached into my bag and there was a pair of scissors in there and they opened up and they jammed into both of my fingers. So each scissor, each end of the scissor went into each of these fingers as I reached into my bag, pulled my hand out, pouring blood down my hand. I'm standing in the rain. And I knew in that moment I had invited that in. I knew that I had invited that situation in, and so I had to be really careful about that, about that. And you should be careful about what you invite in, especially when you're feeling strong emotion. Strong emotion combined with imagination, combined with intention, will manifest. The universe is neutral. Okay. I mean, I think the universe is a loving place, even though we see bad things happening and we see whatever. But the universe itself and manifestation is basically neutral. There's no good or bad or judgments that we place upon what happened. Was that a bad thing that happened that I stabbed my fingers? In the moment, yeah, that really sucked. But I'm fine. And I learned a really important lesson, right? I learned like not to invite that stuff in. um and go, what more could happen to me in this moment? Like things are terrible. And especially in really really strong emotion is fuel. Okay. You either let it go, you either let the emotion go, or you use it to fuel what you're imagining. And if you want good things to happen to you, you got to get into a higher emotional state, a more positive emotional state, a more loving emotional state. I've always said this, if you want more love in your life, if you want to feel more love in your life, the secret, it's not a secret, but the secret is be more loving, become more loving. If you want to be more accepted in the world, become more accepting. If you want, the whole thing, be the change you want to see in the world. The world is a reflection. The world is a mirror of what you have going on internally. So become what you are seeking. If you're seeking happiness, become happy. It's you know yes, if you have if you have a mood disorder or something, it can be really really challenging. It's I don't want to say that to somebody. If you have like depression, just become happy. I know how hard that is, but do what you can to get there. Do what you can to um to change your mindset, and it's going to change the way the world shows up for you. It changes how you show up in the world. And how you show up in the world is often reflected back at how people interact with you. So even on just a personal level. um Yeah. Oh, it can't get worse than this. That's like you're like challenging the universe. Um, you're like, oh, hello. My lovely girlfriend has joined my life. Um, Nice to see you. Hello, hello. Um, Talking about imagination and manifestation and all of these wonderful things on my live this morning. And I'm live. I got TikTok. I'm trying to get a key. It's hard. TikTok's weird. You have to get this like if you want to stream via another software. So on Facebook and YouTube, which I am on this camera, so I don't have to look at two cameras. I want to stream through the same service that I'm doing. TikTok and YouTube, everything through the same service. It would just make my life easier. Um, you have to get a key to do that, a special key, and TikTok has not given me one yet. So right now I'm divided attention, which happens to be something that I learned divided attention from having twins. When they were little, they would talk to me at the same time. How was your day at school? And they would like both just describe their day. And you can't tell one to stop and pay attention to the other one. It doesn't work with kids that way. So I like learned to have this divided attention where I could listen to both things at the same time. It's not easy, especially with ADHD. It's not easy, but it happens. I promised at the beginning of this, or towards the beginning of this, that I was going to describe an exercise that people can do that it works for aphantasia, which is the inability to make pictures in your head. But also, if you don't have aphantasia, this exercise works to pump up your visualization abilities, which can make for stronger imagination. If you're artistic, if you paint, if you take photographs, if you do crafts or anything like that, um, I think it's just a really good exercise. And I don't remember who originated this exercise, so my apologies for not giving credit where credit is due. Um, but you could look it up and find out who created this. But it's fairly old at this point. So this is the exercise. You only need you only need you only need one thing. You need a person to talk to. That person, if you don't have another human being, could be an audio recorder. So it could be your phone or whatever. But there's something important about not just you're going to be speaking, and not just speaking out into empty space. There's something about the way it affects your brain that seems to be important. So you can use a recorder to do this. And what you do is you close your eyes, and you describe out loud what you're seeing. That's it. When you close your eyes. Now, if you're aphantasic, it might be close to nothing. You might start by describing, I see a gray field when I close my eyes, or I'm starting to see some swirls, or whatever. You describe it. Or if you close your eyes and like, oh, I see I'm in a field and there's a tree over here and the tree is green, describe that. And you do this for a half an hour or so, and you do it every day over a period of time, and it will increase your ability to visualize. What you are doing is you're playing with your neuroplasticity. You're making a greater connection between your visual cortex and another part of your brain, in this case your speech center, right? But also other parts of your brain. Your executive functioning gets involved, your default mode network gets involved. um, this is a neurological thing. And like I said, I got this exercise from a photographer who is aphantasic and could not pre-visualize his photo shoots. And so he did this exercise for some period of time. And Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. When I remember to do it, my drawing gets better, or my painting gets better when I remember to do this. It really does, like it connects, it wires. Neuroplasticity is such an amazing thing, right? We have the ability to rewire our brains. It holds strong promise for healing things that we may have. Trauma is only healed through neuroplasticity. I'm fully convinced of that. You have to get really flexible with our brains. And we're learning much more about it as time goes on. Um, but yeah, this exercise is particularly powerful for doing that. Um, so yeah, when I remember to do this, things like my drawing, my painting, my creativity get better. And anything you can do that is creative, um, I think I think creativity is really important. It's part of what makes us human beings. Um, our ability to have what they call symbolic thought, right? Our ability to create things. Our earliest ancestors made musical instruments, right? We have bones. We have like bird bones that were carved into flutes. We have, even Neanderthals didn't do representational art, but they carved geometric patterns into cave walls. We don't know what, but they buried their dead with grave goods. There were Neanderthals. buried in caves that have like 20 different species of flowers buried in them. Um, we can only surmise that that was important. Like it was important that there's some concept of an afterlife, but that the flowers were important and beautiful and, whatever. So part of what makes us human is, is creativity and symbolic thought. And creativity doesn't necessarily mean being an artist. You can create in any way. You can create on your job. You can create, you can combine new things. You can create in your kitchen. You can invent new recipes. You can um, write poetry. You can, whatever it is. I think that's a really. And the other thing is anything that we do that has an artistic aspect to it is therapeutic. There's a reason why there's art therapy and music therapy and all kinds of stuff, right? Um, highly therapeutic. It gets what's inside of us out. We're able to communicate it in a way that words don't quite capture, right? I can think about something. Um, I can think about something. I can go through something. I can make a painting that's representational, or a sculpture, or something like that, and it's going really deep, deep inside what's in here, and I can do that. So I do think that creation is important. I think we co-create. Our consciousness is co-creating this universe that we're in. Earlier, I spoke about how consciousness affects physical reality. We know this from a scientific perspective, at least on a micro level, but also on a fairly macro level. When we can visualize, the double slit experiment, or these random number generator experiments that they've done. Definitely look those up if you're nerdy at all like me. It's absolutely a really cool thing, and the implications about consciousness changing physical reality are pretty huge. It's pretty big. Um, pretty promising, I would say. So, um, with that, I gotta get going. I gotta end for the day. But uh, I'm glad you agree. Um, but find some way to be creative. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to become a painter or a musician unless that's what you want to do. But find some way to be creative. It's really therapeutic. It's really good for you. It really allows you to express what's inside of you. Um, it can be anything. You can be a plumber and create a new way to do what you're doing. You can be um, you know, computer programming is incredibly creative. Sometimes the people try to make it not. You have to use the XYZ pattern here of programming, but um, oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always tuning in. You're always the first person who tells me good morning when I do these things. You're always the first person on. But if you're coming on, my apologies. I'm just wrapping up. But I do want to thank everybody for joining. Thanks for the loves. Thanks for the rose and all of that stuff. Um, I don't know. There's so many buttons on TikTok that I don't know what they do. Somebody's got to. Oh, you're very, very welcome, and I'm gonna see you later, when, I'll bring tissues to share if you bring tissues to share. Um, if you're just tuning in, Brianna's a friend of mine, and her daughter is graduating high school with my daughters today So, oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. I'm glad you found it interesting. Um, so, gave you some tips for hopefully some good tips and hopefully good exercise to do for pumping up imagination, and don't like give yourself some credit for being imaginative even if you're just daydreaming or whatever. Like there's a reason we do that. There's a reason human beings evolved to be imaginative, and important stuff can come out of this. People like Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison and all of these people, I forget who is it that invented the sewing machine, Elias Howe. But all these inventors, these people who created these things, a lot of them did these things in, created in a state of meditation, or while they were sleeping, they had a dream about something, or, that sort of thing. You never know when something, you think you manifested me. If you're seeing me, you manifested me. Let's put it that way. Um, uh, hopefully that's a good thing. Um, oh my gosh. Oh my, what am I doing? So these like, oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you saying that. So if you can take any little bit of inspiration from this, I just encourage people to be creative. I want to live in a world that is full of art and beauty and music and invention and whatever, and love, and people living their best lives. Yes, yes. Let's create our own worlds with our own imagination. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that 200%. I don't know if that's possible, 200% agreement, but I completely, wholeheartedly agree with that. Um, anyway, left your 25-year career to start your business creating happy. I'm so glad to hear that. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday. It's hump day. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will try to do another one of these this week. Not sure. It's a weird week for me. Folks are in town for my kids' graduation, a lot of stuff going on. But if I can, I'll do another one. And I have to think about doing some more lives anyway, because I've actually agreed to, at least on TikTok, to do like 15 hours of lives a month. So that's a lot. But we'll get to it. We'll do it. We'll figure it out. And I'll do some other things besides these coffee hours as well. That's so here's my opportunity to get creative and imaginative. With that, I'm going to leave you all for the day. My love to you all. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate all of you. Find your happiness today. You got to do yours. Oh, okay. Got to do your live. Well, if I see you on there and I'm available, I will follow your live, or I'll watch your live. So give me a wave if you see me. Um, we'll talk to y'all very soon.